Bro, Ultimate Wolverine losing everything is done in spectacular fashion. This comic really has split fans of Wolverine. You'll see what I'm talking about once we get to the end. But let's get into this. So what this does here is this initially opens up and it says, it started small, as these things do. Started by organizing, gathering, learning. We were a secret club at first, idealistic. In order for our delicate house of cards to stand, we formed a strong foundation to build upon. Loyalty was necessary. Loyalty, honesty, trust. These things are not given. They must be earned. And we earned them. It took time, but we proved ourselves worthy of it. Snippets of information would break through the propaganda. Change was coming. It was in the air, but change can often be violent. Change breaks bones, minds, and hearts. But it continues on. But the people, they heard the call. Soft as a whisper, a trickle in its infancy, it flowed into a rushing river. And all rivers, though rough, winding, and rocky in their route, lead to freedom. The sweetest of words, but like honey on a bear's paw, it is a most delicate thing. Our opponents know that freedom means death to them. They know that a caged beast fights the fiercest, but face to face, the oppressed and the oppressor become one and the same. Two beasts, one way forward. Now, what we end up learning here is that this entire thing is a broadcast that's actually being sent out by Mikhail Rasputin to essentially the entire society of the Eurasian Republic. And he says things like, one lives and one dies. And the whole thing's being watched by Magik and it's being watched by Colossus. And so that's where Mikhail says, and so it is time that we reveal ourselves. No more whispers or secrets. We are the opposition. We have fought and we have died for our freedom. And it is your choice now to decide how you want to live. Now, here's an important thing to understand. There's a couple things that we need to specify about what's going on here, because there's some pretty crazy stuff happening in the panels. One of the things to keep in mind about Mikhail Rasputin, and this was covered in Ultimate Wolverine issue number 7, is that Mikhail Rasputin was originally a leader of the Eurasian Republic alongside Colossus and his sister Magik and OmegaRed. Now, of course, OmegaRed has most recently been killed by Ultimate Wolverine, so Prostovich is out of the picture. But the fact is, there came a point, because the Eurasian Republic was operating under the direction of the Maker, just taking orders like so many other people were, there came a point when Mikhail Rasputin basically just became disillusioned with the idea of being a dictator and persecuting his own people. So he defected, and essentially his death was staged. So he was believed to have been gone, just missing for years and years and years. This allowed Colossus and Magik to essentially take over, right? And it allowed them to spread propaganda all over the place and use the death of Mikhail as a way to crack down on any political dissent that existed out there. Along the way, there were a few different things that they were working on, right? They were working on their own version of Weapons Plus. So we can just call it Department X. That's really what it is. But the fact is, right, they took Wolverine, they turned him into the Winter Soldier after he had been through Weapons Plus and his memories had been wiped and so on and so forth. Somehow or another, they got their hands on Jean Grey and Professor Xavier. Professor Xavier was already dead at that point in time. All they did was just take his brain out of cryostasis and then hook it up to Jean Grey and use Xavier's brain to control Jean Grey, and then use Jean Grey's brain to basically create super soldiers, to control Wolverine, create new memories, all that kind of stuff. What you're seeing here is the development of the Cerebro bomb, or the Cerebomb, as they call it. I think Cerebro bomb sounds better, but they're using the Cerebro bomb. The idea is to turn Professor Xavier's brain into a bomb. And in fact, it's something they've been working on for quite some time. It's kind of been an under the current, under the radar, behind the scenes type of motivation that we've seen them mention over the course of the story, but we haven't really seen it come to fruition yet. And that's why you see them attaching like a helmet to Jean Grey, so they can control her using the helmet as opposed to the brain of Xavier. But that's also why you see so much dissent going on here. You see the people turning against the Eurasian Republic, because now they know the story of Mikhail Rasputin was a lie. They know that he's very much alive, and he's leading an opposition against the very political institution that is oppressing all these people. The entire Eurasian Republic is careening to either a civil war or a full-scale revolution. Lest we forget, the Bolsheviks, right? The super wealthy and powerful living in opulence, everybody else living in destitution and poverty, and ultimately the Tsar family was executed in the basement of the Kremlin, which is kind of the fate that would await Colossus and Magik if revolutionaries catch up to them. They will execute them. They will do it as a show of force, and they will do it to make sure that they cannot come back. And so that's where things get interesting here, because in listening to this entire broadcast, Colossus just kind of says drivel, right? Beneath a Rasputin to speak so lowly, which I still say Colossus as a villain is amazing. I love the idea of Colossus being a bad guy. But what's funny here is Magik says, our brother was not wrong. Two beasts, one way forward. Nice of him to account for the both of us. Now, one of the ongoing theories that's been taking place over the course of the Ultimate Wolverine line is that Magik is going to betray Colossus somewhere along the line. Everybody's kind of talking about it. It's really just sort of a theory that exists out there. We don't know for certain, but I gotta be honest, man. The way she utters that line, right? Our brother was not wrong. Two beasts, one way forward. Nice of him to account for both of us. That sounds like the statement of a person who's about to betray you. I'll be quite honest here, right? But at that point, you basically pick up with the delivery of the package, right? The Cerebro bomb, right? And that's where the good doctor just says, right? This is the Cerebro bomb, right? A psionic weapon made from a telepath's brain. And it's one of a kind, capable of getting by any defenses a mutant may generate. We have selected our best and brightest for this mission because there is no room for failure. They are to hit the target, they're to destroy the target, and the target is the opposition. And so that's where the commander on the scene just says, this operation is codenamed Serpent Hunt. It is known only to those of us standing here. Known only to our leaders and yourselves are the contents of this envelope. These are your coordinates. Lock them in. Leader Ilyana will open a portal. You will fly into it. She will drop you into enemy airspace. You will get the jump on them, and you will drop the bomb. Then you are home free. And remember, this is an untested weapon. We have only one, and I do not know the terminology, but maintain height and leave quickly. We do not know the strength of the blast. They're firing it recklessly, right? At least when it comes to things like a hydrogen bomb, a cobalt bomb, an atomic bomb, right? At least they're like tested out in a desert somewhere, so you can determine how big of a blast it's going to be. The Tsar bomb did that. But in this instance, right, they're going to fire this thing off with no clue as to what the effects may be. Lest we forget, Xavier is an Omega level telepath in this universe, and Omega level telepaths have an astronomical level of power. For all the Eurasian Republic knows, they could detonate this bomb and it could send a psychic shockwave around the world that puts everybody on the planet in a catatonic state, that gives everybody Alzheimer's, right? Like that Stephen King story. Whatever the case happens to be, right? Any number of things could happen here. And so at that point, you switch over to Gambit, and Gambit having this conversation, right? He says, you know the time, yeah? And when the other person says something, he says, now we're cooking with grease. Who is this? And then seemingly once the person gives Gambit their identity, Gambit calls over Wolverine. He's like, somebody's on the phone and wants to speak with you. So of course Wolverine comes over and Wolverine answers the phone, and we find out that it's Victor Creed. We find out that it's Saber-tooth. Now, for those of you guys who have missed this, Saber-tooth is not a villain in the Ultimate Universe. He's actually a member of the opposition. But the reality here is that he kind of just whisked off with a couple of kids. The reason being because his moral compass was getting the better of him, right? Seeing what it was that they did to Wolverine, with the two of them being friends, seeing what happened to Logan, how they twisted his brain inside out, turned him into this mindless killing machine who was driven to kill members of the opposition like Nightcrawler, right? That what Saber-tooth didn't want was for these young kids that they had rescued to grow up in that environment, because that's the environment that Saber-tooth and Wolverine grew up in, an environment of war, an environment of violence, and seemingly they never really had a chance to be anything better than what they are. And so in his mind, these kids deserve a fighting chance. So that's why he took off with them, and that's why they're not there, because they start talking about things that had gone down, right? The great big huge battle, the fight against OmegaRed. But that's where Saber-tooth says, right, I saw Mikhail's little message to the world. I saw you guys made it too. Things are getting crazy out there, crazier than usual. And even Wolverine just kind of says, right, I still don't know if the revealing gamble, right, showing the world that the opposition exists, I still don't know if that was really the right move. For someone like Wolverine, the most powerful weapon is the weapon of secrecy. If they don't know whether or not you exist, they don't know if or when you will come for them. And so the opposition operating in secret, guerrilla warfare tactics, pot shots here and there, it made them almost impossible to follow. And so that's where Saber-tooth is just kind of like, I mean, you've always been a lone wolf, right? And Wolverine responds. He's like, look, I got Prostovich. I took his head clean off with the blade that you gave to me. And I think Mikhail is on a victory lap for himself because of it. And he shouldn't be. These Rasputins are not the quitting type. Like, Mikhail hit them hard, and he made them look like a bunch of fools. Weak, right? He got their country turning on them, the whole world, all at the hands of their own brother. They are not going to let that slide, Victor. And so Victor kind of asked the question, right? Like, he's their brother, right? Do you really believe he doesn't know them better than you? You're an outsider looking in. And of course, Wolverine just says, of course he knows them, right? Of course he knows them better than I do. I mean, he spent his whole life with them. That's not the point. The point is, he's getting cocky. And you know what that means, Victor. And that's where Victor says, he's getting sloppy, because that's the concern, right? When you're the king of the hill, it's very easy to become complacent. It's very easy to just kind of rest on your laurels and to believe that it's impossible for you to be toppled. And that feeling is exacerbated by victory, by success. Then at that point, it's just kind of like you feel unstoppable, all the while completely unaware of the fact that under you are the rumblings of revolution. Under you are the rumblings of the people that you fought and the things they've cost working against you. And while Mikhail is a good guy here, and he is the leader of the opposition, Wolverine is not wrong. He hit the Eurasian Republic in a very, very soft spot, and they certainly aren't going to take that laying down. They're going to fire back, and they're going to fire back hard. And so that's why Wolverine says, I don't think that we should stay here, right? We have to keep moving. There's no telling what the Republic knows. And initially he kind of speculates on something, right? And Victor thinks that maybe he's talking about the idea that there's a rat, right? There's some kind of a mole for the Eurasian Republic within the opposition. And Wolverine's just kind of like, I don't really know what I think. Maybe not, right? Probably not. There's probably not a rat here. I worry that sometimes they took stuff, people, places. I worry they took it out of my brain, out of someone else's. They've tracked us somehow. And then he sniffs and he realizes that jet is on the way. There's a bomb coming. And so once he looks up, he's just like, oh my God, right? Like, they're going to drop a bomb on us. Now, he doesn't know it's the Cerebro bomb. He doesn't know the details of it, but he knows that they found them and they're launching an attack. And a bomb is all he needs to know about. And so at that point, he just tells everybody they have to evacuate as fast as they possibly can. He ends up grabbing the Sentinel and then just says, like, you have to take me into the air as fast as humanly possible. And then Mikhail, right, again, resting on his laurels, is just kind of like, what are you doing, right? We need the transport. And the response of Wolverine, there's no time, right? I have to try to stop this thing. We certainly don't have anybody like Nightcrawler, and I have to get up there as fast as humanly possible. So try to get everybody clear in case I can't do that. And so, of course, Mikhail forces everybody to evacuate. The issue with this is all they really have are vehicles to just throw people on and try to get those people out of there. But as Gambit points out, all the trucks are filled with ammo. There's no room for that. And so at that point, Mikhail's like, make room, right? Get the ammo out, get people in, and we have to do it as fast as humanly possible. Now, all we're doing at this point is we're talking about Wolverine offering a distraction, right? I mean, we've got seconds, moments, right? There's absolutely not enough time to pull off this measure of an evacuation. All these people, to get them filed into trucks, people of varying ages, various methods of travel, right? Various speeds of travel. Some walk slow, some walk fast, some walk normally. And so Wolverine, trying to distract as best he can, the jet literally just flies around him because their orders are to ignore everything except to drop the bomb, which includes ignoring Wolverine and this gigantic Sentinel. And so ultimately, Wolverine turns right back around and goes back after the jet. And the jet just says, lock on target, clear to engage. And Wolverine, catching up to him as fast as he can, this pilot just says, copy. And so while Gambit is literally loading somebody into the truck, the bomb gets dropped. Wolverine is like a moment away from being able to grab the tail end of this plane, but the bomb gets dropped and it just comes crashing down. Wolverine literally jumps out of the plane, hopefully finding a way to be able to stop this bomb, and doesn't make it in time. The thing goes off and everyone here gets obliterated. Not in some grand destructive force. It has as much destruction as a bomb, but it's the psychic effect of the bomb. Sure, people are blown limb from limb, but more than any of that, it just wipes out their brains. Like seemingly, they're just shut down and they're dead. So yeah, Wolverine has lost it all. He lost everything. And so at that point, you jump back over to Colossus, right? And Colossus is told it was a direct hit, leader. The opposition is no more. And the good doctor, again, says initial readings suggest the Cerebro bomb performed exceptionally well, leader. Perhaps we should utilize the Phoenix specimen for a similar weapon. And that's where Colossus is just like, very good, right? This is very good. But then at that point, his sister, Magik, chimes in and she says, "It is a victory, brother. This is true. The opposition may be dead, but the infection has spread, and my children in limbo grow very hungry." With that being said, guys, we're going to bring this to an end. I really love the way this story has gone down. I love the way this story is unfolded. Hopefully you guys did too. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, and I will catch you all later. Peace.